My view of Bitcoin is it is the highest quality property or the highest quality asset you can own in the world right now. It's superior to bonds, superior to commercial real estate. And that's an easy observation in a world of extreme monetary inflation. With inflation rates of 15% or more expected for the next 5 years, it's easy. We're in an environment where it looks like for the next 5 years, the money supply is going to expand by 15%. That means assets are going to go up by 15% if they're scarce. That means you have to buy things that are going to go up faster than that. I think there are pros and cons. Clearly, there's a bit more volatility, and that would scare away weak non-committal players. But there's a ton of institutions that were very enthusiastic about it that decided they wanted to buy it when it was 30,000 around the beginning of the year. And then they watched to their chagrin as it doubled, and they thought, well, it can't double every quarter forever. It's ahead of itself. And then they stopped and they wouldn't buy. You know, I mean, Bitcoin is the emerging dominant digital monetary network. If you're looking for a treasury reserve asset and you're looking for a generational store of value in lieu of gold or in lieu of any other scarce tangible property, then Bitcoin is compelling, and it's compelling because it's simple. Bitcoin's one of those stories where if you're only casually interested in it, you just look at the price volatility and the deeper you look at it, the more you think it's like a generational or a decade-long trade. I think there are pros and cons. Clearly, there's a bit more volatility, and that would scare away weak non-committal players. But there's a ton of institutions that were very enthusiastic about it that decided they wanted to buy it when it was 30,000 around the beginning of the year. And then they watched to their chagrin as it doubled, and they thought, well, it can't double every quarter forever. It's ahead of itself. And then they stopped and they wouldn't buy. Yeah, there's going to be regulatory FUD and pushback and volatility, and the more successful it is, the more pushback there will be. And you can't discount the fact that there could be a black swan. And I can't tell you what it is because I don't know. But here's what I can tell you. Take your portfolio and divide it into 10 pieces, and then try to invest in 10 different things that all could go to zero or could go up by a factor of 10. If you have a technology portfolio and you wish to invest in a technology that has risk and complexity because you're interested in decentralized finance and all of the applications in the Ethereum blockchain, then that's an interesting thing to consider. But if you're looking for a treasury reserve asset, a long-term durable store of value, I think Bitcoin is obviously the right choice. The entire world has a multi-$100 trillion store of value problem, which will be solved by the dominant digital monetary network. Since Bitcoin is only 650 billion in market cap, and since there's a $200 trillion addressable market, the most obvious thing in the world is buy into the dominant digital monetary network and wait for the rest of the world to start to realize this is the solution to their problem. There's no better risk-adjusted investment idea I can see in this world right now. And some institutions bought $60 billion of Bitcoin at a good price last week while someone got panicked over what I view as FUD, and they dumped it too cheap. So, I think what you see is that the long-term players are actually pretty happy to have the opportunity to get into this entry point. And if I was looking at it, the number one thing I'd always look at is the price moving on no volume or in a lot of volume? Because that tells you the institutional sentiment. We're in an environment where it looks like for the next 5 years, the money supply is going to expand by 15%. That means assets are going to go up by 15% if they're scarce. That means you have to buy things that are going to go up faster than that. And that means that the hurdle rate just got 3x higher. And not only is the hurdle getting 3x higher, but Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google just had a meteoric run for a decade. when it was obvious they were going to have a good run. They're going to have to invent something really cool to go up by another factor of 10. And might they do it? They might. How many years are you going to wait before you actually get on that train? I mean, 15, 20, 25, 30 is done, right? I mean, 30 is a career. So I would say that it was highly complicated, risky, and uncertain if you go back a couple of years. It got to be a much easier trade in March of 2020. And every month since March of 2020, it's been de-risks exponentially, and then the need is exploding. It turns out that Bitcoin miners don't actually have a good forum for communicating how they generate their energy. We don't have a shared common model for Bitcoin energy usage right now. And we don't have a future forecast model that we commonly use. So we're allowing other journalists in the mainstream media, or just anybody that wants to make up their own model. My view of Bitcoin is it is the highest quality property, or the highest quality asset you can own in the world right now. It's superior to bonds, superior to commercial real estate, superior to equity, superior to gold, to silver, to commodities and derivatives. And that's an easy observation in a world of extreme monetary inflation. With inflation rates of 15% or more expected for the next 5 years, it's easy. If the monetary inflation rate was 0, it would be difficult, and I would have to evaluate the differential coupons, rents, and dividend yields of all those other assets because they're fiat derivatives. If no one could mine any more gold ever again, and if it wasn't centralized, I would have to consider that. My view is that every time you sell Bitcoin, you're buying an inferior asset, and so you're selling a winner to buy a loser. And given the likely differential rate of price appreciation over the next decade, it would be seriously wealth destroying to diversify out of it. And I asked Elon if he had relationships with the miners, and he said he'd like to meet them. So I reached out to the miners and I asked them if they'd like to meet Elon Musk, and they said yes, they would. And so we set up the meeting because he wanted to understand how they're mining and what their plans and futures are. And they wanted to understand his concerns, and we wanted to understand how we could be the good guys in the entire ESG debate, because I think that Bitcoin they are the good people. We are actually driving sustainability. It is a great way to recycle wasted energy, and we have a great energy story. And so I think that the group came together to get Elon's thoughts, and for us to brainstorm on what we can do in order to communicate constructively to the entire industry. If you want a list of the risks, there's a 1% black swan, unknown risk that no rational person could discount, because we can't know the unknown. So it's a new thing, 12 years old. So there is the black swan risk. Take that into account. I think it's highly likely you're going to see regulatory FUD every quarter for the next 10 years. Oh, I heard this country was, the Venezuelans are going to ban it. The Chinese did this. The Russians did that. They might tax it differently. You're going to hear that going on. And you're going to get other asset class risk and FUD. The people that are invested in gold are threatened. People that are invested in other cryptos are threatened. People that are invested in what happens, when this thing gets to $10 trillion, it's going to be more threatening. When it gets to 20 trillion, it'll be more threatening. When it gets to 50 trillion, it'll be more threatening. It should logically, reasonably demonetize all the bond indexes, all the stock indexes, all the cash, and all the gold. And if it demonetizes all those things, then you're going to get FUD and political pushback. You can't really go much faster than we're going. Bitcoin is appreciating at 200% a year for 12 years. It's appreciating at 300% this year. I kind of find it hard to, how many big tech networks grew at 100% per year for a decade running? This is a big tech monetary network that is expanding in excess of 200% a year. So you can't really ask it to expand any faster. I think that for the next decade, we're just going to see the expansion of a digital monetary network, that is Bitcoin, and people are going to probably resist it and fear it more as it grows, because when no one notices it and cares about it, they don't have an opinion. The world needs a digital monetary network. It's a $400 trillion problem. It's an idea whose time has come. You're not going to be able to stop it. I mean, Bitcoin is the emerging dominant digital monetary network. There's no better risk-adjusted investment idea I can see in this world right now. My view of Bitcoin is it is the highest quality property or the highest quality asset you can own in the world right now. Bitcoin is appreciating at 200% a year for 12 years. It's appreciating at 300% this year.